side.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0, and liftoff.
Welcome to Seattle Sports Insider Podcast, your best source for the latest news and conversation on what's happening with the big teams of the Pacific Northwest. We'll cover it all. Seahawks, Mariners, Supersonics. Supersonics? I think I grabbed the old script. Anyway, if it's big and it's sports and it's Seattle and surrounding, we're on it. Follow us on Twitter at Mariners Talk 24 and on Facebook, Seattle Sports Insider Podcast. And now, time for the second best father-son duo in Seattle sports history. After, of course...
Goodbye, baseball! They do it! The Griffeys with back-to-back home runs!
Here's your host of the Seattle Sports Insider Podcast, Justin Bonanno.
Welcome back to another episode of Bonanno Sports Banter. Happy World Cup week for those who celebrate. We're trying to get into it a little bit more this year. I'll be up front. We're not soccer experts. We'll maybe have some hot takes. But yeah, that is not our area of expertise. We're excited for the tournament on home soil. Before we get into all things sports, I have to introduce my esteemed co-host, Eric. How are we doing today?
I am good, Justin. Speaking of the World Cup, did you know that I actually coached a player that went on to play in the MLS? Now, I coached him in baseball, and that didn't end up being his sport. So I must have ruined him from baseball, and then he ended up playing for Colorado and San Diego in the MLS.
You taught him all the fundamentals it takes to be a great athlete, and he took that transition into soccer.
Yeah, well, he did lead our team in batting average, and that still didn't go anywhere baseball-wise, and he still ran to soccer, so I couldn't have taught him that well.
Maybe he just really didn't like your coaching style, and if he liked you a lot, he would have stuck at baseball. So either way, he owes you a thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I was so bad that he had to run and scream and get away from baseball. I do have a question for you. Do you know when the next Halley's Comet is?
I do not.
It's not tonight, though, is it?
I don't think so. I think that happens every 50 years.
Yeah, that means Munoz won't be pitching again because we only see him when Halley's Comet rolls around. And that was obviously from one of my favorite movies, The Hangover.
Before we get into all things Mariners and Seattle sports, and maybe even a World Cup, we'll do our best to talk it out. I want to start a new segment called JB versus the People. I've had some run-ins lately with the people of society, and I want you to be the honest judge of whose side are you on. And you can tell me right away if I'm in the wrong. But new segment, JB versus the People.
I need a gavel. You should have warned me. I need a gavel next time.
All right, so here's the first one.
Number one.
I'm going to my friend's house. I forgot where we're doing, but I stopped at Costco for a bottle of wine and some macaroons. And you'll be a good judge because this is a little bit, you are on the elderly side, so I'd appreciate your honest opinion. So I check out the self-checkout, and my understanding, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is there is no line from when you check out and you go to the people that check the receipt. So there was this older lady in that stretch with a cart who was going a little bit slower, and you can relate because you've slowed down a little bit in these days. I have two items in my hand, so I'm on foot. So I cross her in between. She's about halfway, and there's no line, right? I cross her to get to the person who's checking receipts first. And as I pass her, she calls me an asshole because I cut her. Now, here's what I'm thinking. Worst case, she was inconvenienced for under 10 seconds because I had two items. They don't even look at the receipt. They just cross it. But I'm curious, what's your perspective? Does the line form in that little stretch, or is it first come, first serve? JB versus the People. where do you decide?
All right. So, number one, I need to know how far away from the person checking receipts were you and her
When I
when you
crossed her,
passed her? Yep.
there was probably about 15 feet.
Ooh, you are right on the edge. So the end of her cart, you're telling me, is only like 12 feet
No,
from
I
the
would say end
person.
of her cart was about 15 feet. Maybe that's probably 15. 15 feet might have been. It was probably halfway. So she still was halfway to go. Whatever that distance is in
Halfway from
Costco.
it's halfway from the registers all the way to the person checking the receipts, and there was nobody between her. No, then if you were 12 feet from the person, I would probably side with the name calling lady. But if you're
Hmm.
only halfway down there, yeah, it's all yours. You win that one.
Yeah, there was no eye contact made between with her and the check. If they were in the progress of like pulling up the cart, but it was still a sizable distance. Not good with my measurements, but
Yeah,
that's
no,
what I.
no. That one I give to you. If you were only 12 to 50, then I'm gonna say the lady is kind of like first in line, but you're just getting to being in line. So yeah, that one I'll side with you on.
There it is. That Costco stretch between the checkout and the receipt checker is a free for all, pending you're not already in line and making an approach to the receipt lady. I think we do need to bring in this to see the actual distance.
And I
Um,
think we also need to know if the neighborhood play is back in effect or if instant replay on this will negate the neighborhood play and she is automatically in line and not just in the vicinity.
yeah, so I'm taking that one as a win because I had, but here's my thing. Worst case, she was inconvenienced for 10 seconds because I had two items, check and go. 10 seconds might even be a stretch. And I don't even think she rolled up by the time that I got there. So,
That's what I was thinking. If you're as far away as you're leading me to believe, then I don't think she even had to slow down her cart yet to stop for you.
this is also another separate take from Costco that I just got to get off my chest. What's your take on Costco carts in the restroom? You,
Costco carts in the restroom?
yes. So I
I've
think what
never seen
happens.
that.
Oh, okay. See, this I've seen a couple times, and it just weirds me out.
I don't. What are they thinking? No, no. You
I
don't
think
bring
they
your
get
cart
I think
in
they
the.
get done shopping and they have to use the restroom and they bring the full cart to the restroom. And I I know you're an East Coast guy and you grew up that people are out to get you. So I was curious if with that background, would that be a move that you would make?
No, I park my cart by the little kiosk for the concession stand for the hot dog and pizza stand, and then I go use the bathroom. You don't take your cart in the bathroom. That's disgusting.
Especially at Costco because they're so good. If let's say hypothetically someone did steal something out of your cart, you just go to your receipt and say, "Hey, I'm missing my lunch meat turkey," and then no questions asked, they give it to you because you know.
Exactly.
So I think that is egregious what I see, and I've seen it a couple times.
That makes no sense. I've never seen it, thankfully. And I think I would call somebody, oh, I probably wouldn't, but in my mind, I would call them the a hole if they brought their cart into the bathroom.
I think it's gross, and then logistics wise, now you got a cart that you got to deal with to get to your respective stall. So yeah, it's I don't know. People must be very protective of their box cereal, bulk cereal, because that is an egregious move, in my opinion.
Yeah, that one I don't get. Like you said, they will replace it if somebody stole it out of your bag, out of your cart.
Yeah, so really no upside to bring in your your car in the bathroom. So if that's uh if that's you, maybe you got to change.
I would say if that's you, you need to look at society and see that nobody else is doing that.
I didn't plan on this to be a full Costco rant, but here we are. What's up with people's spatial awareness in Costco? It's it's like they get those big carts and they forget there's people behind them just whipping that thing when they need to turn around, and it for some reason they get into that bulk superstore and just forget that other people exist.
And there's no people don't go with the right of way. If I come to especially where they have the middle of the store where everything is a fake aisle, it's just the granola bars and the candies and such, not in the big aisles with the big metal things, but you're just in that aisle. When you come up to a T, I go with the person on the right has the right of way and it goes such like that. But no, I'm coming this way and this guy will run and almost run me over. So yeah, they people with their carts, it's tough. That's why I like to kind of park my cart over in an area that isn't too crowded, and then I'll go grab an item and bring it back.
I think 100 years from now, historians will study the spatial awareness or the lack thereof at Costco because it's something that needs to be studied. And yeah, always cracks me up when I'm just always just get just turn a cart right into me. It's like you didn't think to look.
Exactly. No.
All right, and then my last JB versus the people. I am almost 100% sure I'm in the correct side, but I want to get the judge's ruling. I'm getting ready to go for my run, and I'm walking across the street, and you know, once you start walking, the red hand starts flashing, and then the numbers start counting down, right? So it's like 21, 22, oh, counting down 22, 21, 20. I get about halfway, and there's like 9 seconds left, and the lady turning left starts honking at me and saying, "It says not to walk. You're in the wrong here." It starts yelling at me. And I just looked at it. I was like, "What are you talking about? I got 9 seconds left to cross."
No.
Assuming I am reading those directions correctly.
Yes, society knows that during the countdown, that is still like the light turning yellow. That is not a stop. It's stop when do not walk comes up. So up until
Yes.
then, and even with the do not walk, it flashes for a while before it completely goes that way. So if you're in the crosswalk already with the numbers coming down, assuming it's not a 6-lane highway that you're going
Hmm.
across, yes, 100% JB is in the right. The people are in
Wow.
the wrong.
2 for 2. Yeah, there were just two run-ins that I had almost back to back, and I was like, wow, I'm really pissing off society. But I don't know if I'm fully in the wrong. Definitely, I was pretty sure the countdown meant I had 9 seconds to get across, and I did cross it in time, but she must have saw the flashing red and thought I was in the wrong. So
100% in the right. And you had, I think, even closer to probably 15 seconds because it's going to flash before it goes to complete.
yeah, so I was I was like, maybe she's just having a bad day, right? Try to take it out on me. But yeah, I was I was just laughing. I was like, "Do you not walk ever, Miss Lady?" Like that's pretty universal to know that I have nine
Pretty
seconds left.
universal.
So I just yelled back. I was like, "I have 9 seconds left," and then I
And
took my time. I was
then
really
it
dragging my feet.
then
She
it
was
took you
honking at me.
29 seconds.
Yeah, but yeah, I had a good run, and I hope maybe somehow she chat GPT'd or Googled the question of if it says if there's a countdown, can I turn left or do I have to wait for the people to cross? So we'll hopefully use it as a learning opportunity.
And pedestrians have the right of way. Going back to the Costco thing about right of way, pedestrians have the right of way.
Thank you for being the judge and validating my feelings. It sounds like you'll give me credit for one for sure and a half, depending on how far that distance was at Costco.
So a tentative two based on looking at the instant replay of the Costco one.
Yeah, speaking of instant replay, ABS has been introduced with challenges. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, speaking just from the Mariners' perspective first, Mitch Garver is awesome at challenges. Mitch Garver is terrific. Randy Arozarena should never be allowed to challenge again. He is terrible at it. And I just don't understand how this far into the season the teams don't have a general rule of when to use it. You've got 2 outs in the first inning on an 0-0 count and a ball that's borderline, and then we're tapping our head in the first. Save it for when you need it in big situations. Could you imagine the game against the Orioles when Pete Alonso looked to have walked and the Mariners challenged and that just caught the zone if they had no challenges left? So I do not understand how they don't have a general rule of when they are allowed to use it. It just seems like a free for all. The Mariners are the worst at it outside of Mitch Garver. He's been awesome at it, one of the best in the league, but I just don't it drives me bananas. And I thought when Ref Snyder hit the home run earlier in the season on the road after challenging in the right situation, I don't remember if it was the eighth or ninth inning, but it got the Mariners the lead. I thought, okay, this is going to spur on them understanding when to use the ABS challenge, but it didn't. And they continue to challenge at weird times. And I think Randy walks up there tapping his head from the dugout because it's never been a strike on him. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, let's be honest. I don't think hitters should be allowed to challenge until the seventh, maybe eighth, ninth inning because of the rules where if it barely catches the strike zone, it's a strike. It's really hard for hitters to overturn it unless it's egregious. But any borderline pitch is going to default to a strike. So there's really no reason for hitters to challenge before the seventh inning, in my opinion.
Unless it's a big situation, bases loaded
Hmm.
and such, and or it's an egregious call, and or if CB Buckner is behind
Yeah.
the plate because he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's been out since he was injured. But uh, opening his opening game behind the plate, I think there were 6 challenges in 1 inning against him, and I think he got them all wrong or one right or something. Suarez, our old friend Gino Suarez, challenged 2 on back-to-back pitches and was correct both times.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think the challenge system is electric. The umpires had way too much power when balls and strikes, especially when you couldn't even say something. The whole adage, if you argue balls and strikes, you're out of here. To strip some of that power, I love it. And, it's been a fun for the fans. But I think it favors the pitching team so much that there needs to be a slight tweak in the rules. Maybe if half the ball is in X zone, you can overturn it. But like when it just catches the millimeter of the zone and it gets overturned, like that probably should stay a ball, in my opinion.
I agree with you on that. Well, let me give the umpires some credit though too. It's also shown how often they are really right throughout a game. It's just some
Hmm.
calls that they have to reverse, but it is good to be able to reverse those. And I've been thinking about this from a hockey and football versus baseball perspective. Hockey, the puck has to go across the line fully. Football, the nose of the coin, just a coin, the nose of the ball just has to touch the goal line, break the plane as it's called, and you can see that from the up top cameras or even the pylon camera. But baseball with just the seam of the ball because it sticks out a millimeter, just touching the corner. That being called a strike, I don't like because that is virtually 99.5% of the ball is outside of the zone. I think I'm in agreement with you that there should be a rule that it's got to be at least half of the ball has to be inside the strike zone to be counted as a strike. I look forward. We're gonna have Nick Morande on again later in the summer, and I'm looking forward to what his comments are as a pitcher. And we'll see if we can get a batter on there with the show with us as well to see if those two people line up on their thoughts of it.
Yeah, definitely agree. Shows how good the umps are because a lot of the challenges catchers and hitters miss. So even they don't know what a strike could be. But yeah, I think if it's called a ball and the only way it should get overturned is if 51% of the ball is in the strike zone, and then you can overturn it. But to ask umpires to see if that 1 millimeter of the seam touches the strike zone, it's like, what are we doing here? Like no eye can catch that. So
No, the
that's
human eye
that's
can't.
my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%.
What do you make? Did you see the first proposal of the salary cap? And I think historically we've always been on the side of the players. Thought that was a pretty good first proposal for the owners, in my opinion. Curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, first of all, I've not been on the side of the players as often as I'm on the side of the owners.
Coming from
However,
a former owner.
correct, correct. So I did like that proposal as well. What I don't want to see happen though is I don't want to see the salary cap being given to the or being instituted, and in exchange they're going to let the players go to free agency earlier. I do not want that because, as we have seen, baseball is different. In the NBA and the NFL, you get drafted and you're pretty much playing right away, especially if you're a top 3 round guy in the NFL. Otherwise, you're going to be like on special teams and such. But you're going to step onto the NFL field as a first round draft pick. You're going to play, and you're going to have 4 years, 5 years if you use the option, and then you hit free agency. In baseball, we have seen a first round guy, especially if they're a high schooler, they don't get to the big leagues right away. They have to go through the minors. And then when they get to the big leagues, it is still a learning curve. I'm so happy that Colt Emerson is signed for the next 10 years, because if you look at somebody like Cole Young, okay, his first year was, he was pretty good, but he was left off the playoff roster. Wasn't great. This year he's playing really well. Next year he should be even better, and then he'd be gone to free agency if we lower that to like 4 years. I just don't want to see the teams put in so much time and training and finances into building a player and have them leave after 4 years. So I like the offer by the owners. I like the salary floor going even above where the Mariners' payroll is right now. And I do like the idea of a salary cap, mainly because you have to reel in what the Dodgers are doing. I think the Dodgers have broken the system with this deferred money and such. So, a good proposal. I just don't want to see free agency earlier. I get arbitration earlier. I'm fine with giving them a year earlier on arbitration or so in exchange for it, but not I'd go without a salary cap if it meant they got to free agency sooner.
Was that in the proposal, or was that the pushback from the players?
No, that was that the last time they tried to go with the salary cap was 1994 with the labor stoppage, and the we lost the World Series that year. That when they offered it last time, the players were going to get to free agency earlier. So I hope that that is not dredged up and we do that again.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the floor, just to get teams to spend and try to make it more competitive. And it would be fun because then it would almost be a free agent frenzy, because teams will need to hit that floor. So, the big free agents it's almost going to be like that NFL free agent frenzy where they go off the board quick, because you don't want to be waiting and, for teams like that are in the 70, 80 million of payroll, right? To get up to that floor, you're going to want to sign some big names quick. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of that middle tier and have to sign some big contracts. So I think that'd be fun because MLB free agency drags on until the Dodgers come in and make them an offer, and then guys don't sign till beginning of camp sometimes even. So I think that'd be an added bonus. But yeah, I really like the floor, and I really limiting the Dodgers pockets just to make it more fair and equitable.
Yeah, and a lot of what's happening with baseball, as far as you were talking about, making it more competitive. Baseball has had more uh, diverse, different champions than football or basketball. Even like in football, for years and years and years, you knew the 4 teams that were going to be in the hunt the last 2 weeks of the playoffs in each conference, almost going into the season. Baseball, you look at baseball, there's more playoff teams and more champions. The problem is baseball has a perception problem where fans in Pittsburgh, fans in Kansas City, fans in Miami don't think their team spends, and it drags the whole talk down about how teams don't even try to win. They're not trying to win. They're not spending any money. The going with the floor gets rid of that perception problem.
Yeah, I'm just trying to count, but it looks like there's over 12 teams this year that are spending less than 100 million. And then there's like 5 teams that are in the 50 million or below. And I think it does give baseball a bad rep because someone like the Nationals, are you really that excited to go watch out the team that the Nationals are putting out on the field this year? Probably not, right? But if they have to get to that floor, all of a sudden, maybe signing Kyle Tucker is an option, right? Or Bregman, get the fans excited. Um, especially out here in Denver, the Rockies are just they're not a good baseball team. People are not excited for the team, especially when every other team in Denver is very good. People still go out to the game, and I just don't like how it lets owners off the hook because a nice Saturday in Denver, people are going to go to the game, right? They're going to have their beers, their hot dogs, enjoy the atmosphere, but the owner can get off and not really spend to have a competitive team because there's no need to because he still makes the margin. So I think the floor would not allow owners to take that approach, and if everyone has to put a competitive team out there, then if you're going to spend the 170 million on the floor, you're probably going to try to win if you're going to spend that money.
And this is just my opinion. Reading the tea leaves, I think that this is Rob Manfred's number one legacy goal. I think he wants to implement that salary cap as his lasting thumbprint on the sport, his legacy. Um, and I think the offer, like you talked about, reflects that, and teams would have to get up on the floor. Now, you do have to be careful though, because the Nationals are only going into the weekend that we're playing the Nationals, which is the week that we're recording this. The Nationals are only a game and a half behind us, and we're in first place. So if they were in our division, in our league, they'd only be a game and a half behind us, and they're actually scoring the most runs in the National League, I think, or at least the top three for scoring the most runs. Now, luckily for us, they don't have a strong starting or relief pitching staff, and hopefully we can outslug them in the nation's capital. So, not always does money equal talent and being competitive. However, the perception is that money does that. And especially when you have, depending on which source you look at, the Dodgers are over $400 million, or at least right around there, depending how the money is counted. And then, like you said, teams under 50 million. So there's a team literally spending $350 million more than another in this season, and that's a perception problem for sure.
Wouldn't it help the majority of the players? I understand maybe the top 20% could limit because we wouldn't see those deferred payouts and those huge contracts. But I would imagine it would help the 80% of the middle guys to because they would need to hit that floor. Or do you think I'm off base on that?
Well, I think it'll bring that average up for a little bit. So in the short term, yes, it'll help those middle guys. But I think, in the possible downside of it is that you're going to see shorter careers, just like you do in the NFL. The NFL, you have such a short career, not always because your body can't take it and you're you're hurt or you go out on your terms, but you're out of that rookie contract. So you've had your 4 years, and then if assuming you're not a first, second round guy, then your money is going to jump the next year. But you're not that much better than the next rookie
Mm.
coming in on that rookie contract. So you are replaced by the guy earning less. So it kind of shortens the career of those middle guys. Won't happen right away in baseball, but it would happen.
Interesting perspective. If you would have asked me, I would have said the careers are short because of just getting older. But yeah, I like it's almost the Kenneth Walker. The Seahawks felt that a 25-year-old, 26-year-old Kenneth Walker was, the margin of difference between going out and getting a top rookie was close enough to justify the $14 million in salary variance. So it's an interesting take there. I like it.
Um, and it really, and guys like, I'm trying to think of a guy on the Seahawks that you could, Jake Bobo is almost a guy like that for the Seahawks, except for the Seahawks really value him on special teams, and that's why they, decided to spend more to bring him back. But you have a situation where, you become a free agent that first time. You may get an offer like he did, or you may not, just because you can be replaced, cheaper.
Let's move on to the Mariners. It's been an interesting start to the year. The boys are still in first place. I know I get a lot of text about Dan Wilson in in uh, in some fiery reactions to his management style. The floor is yours. What do you have to say about Dan Wilson's performance as the Mariners' chief
Oh
in
boy.
command?
Wow. So there are a lot of different things with that. Let's just start with this week, okay? Let's just start with this week that we're recording, where the Mariners seemingly, without having a starting pitcher, go 2/3 of an inning, giving up 8 runs and 9 hits. Somehow have a bullpen completely taxed out, and we can't afford to go down and get anybody out of the bullpen because they're all tired. When we have a bullpen that leads the league in fewest innings thrown, how are they dead tired in the beginning of June and the end of May? I just don't understand that. And apparently, Munoz, you have your closer who has been public saying, I need to pitch more, still only pitching on the days that Haley's Comet comes around. So there's a lot of different things. And that's where I guess really I go to so they're different. Let's start with the pitching staff, and then we'll go off of that from there. Okay. So the piggyback. I know fans don't like it. A lot of it because of the players' reactions to it. However, if you look at the design of it, it worked perfectly, almost flawlessly 3 times. The
Mhm.
first time, we'll get back to why it didn't work, but the first time you had to use, 2 bullpen arms for a short term. And then after that, it worked just like that they had hopefully drawn it up to work. So it was working. And I don't understand how the organization, and especially the coaching staff, meaning it's got to fall on Dan Wilson, how the fans knew what was going to happen with Castillo and Miller and about how many innings they were going to throw versus the players themselves. I just don't see where that breakdown in communication could happen. We all understood it, but then you go to take Castillo out of the game and he's throwing stuff out of the dugout in the dugout, and you've got Bryce Miller, probably the most easygoing guy on the team. He was all ticked off, and that's the one thing with athletes, and especially professional athletes. They want to know what's going to happen and no surprises. Well, we understood it. How is it that they weren't communicated on it? I mean, you could be ticked off that you were taken out of a game that you're throwing a one hitter or such, but at least you would have known that going in. So I just think that they completely botched it. Then you get back to Seattle and you have to have a meeting with the general manager, the president of baseball operations, the coaching staff, and those 2 players to make sure they understand it. That was handled just absolutely terribly. So we'll start with that. And then your thoughts on the piggyback, my thoughts on it worked great. And I just don't understand why now all of a sudden we're going to a 6-man rotation when it worked great. However, I wouldn't use those same 2 guys that we used the piggyback. So we'll start with the piggyback and the lack of communication from Dan and the coaching staff.
Yeah, I like the piggyback just to save the bullpen. Um, Especially, having 2 dynamite starters. I know Castillo struggled a little bit, but still good pedigree and great stuff. To save the bullpen for 9 innings is impressive. And, I think that from a opposing team's view, you're trying to get the starters pitch count up so you can get to the pen and maybe get it after those fifth, sixth, seventh inning guys before you get to the elite relievers. But knowing that you got the 1-2 punch of the starters coming in, I think that would be hard from an opposing team's view. So, yeah, but the fact that it wasn't just, hey, you're going 5 tonight no matter what happens, and then we're going to pivot to the next guy, how that wasn't communicated, if it was more of a we'll see approach. Obviously, the we'll see approach just did it backfired completely because I think when you set up that, you have to set up the expectations as well.
So I think that was handled poorly. Then even before the piggyback, I really question um, the one thing that Scott Service did really well during his time in Seattle. He made great pitching changes. He really understood using the bullpen, how to use those guys, and he was fantastic about it. And if you remember, during the 1 year, it was really nothing that he did went wrong coming out of the bullpen. Dan, I think, is the complete opposite. Uh, when the game is moving quickly, I think for some reason he seems to have a look of panic on his face. When I get on an airplane and I look at the pilot, if I saw the look on his face that Dan Wilson's players see on his face when the game is hitting the sixth, seventh, and they have to make changes, I would grab my carry-on and walk right back up the tarmac and get off the plane because I had no confidence that the pilot was going to get me to where I was going. That's the look of I'm pooping my pants. Oh no! Look that I seem to see on Dan Wilson's face. Um, so the bullpen, I don't understand. This team is built on walks and home runs, getting on base and hitting home runs. But yet, once the sixth inning is over, if we're down 2 runs, we wave the white flag. We're done. We're done. Might as well just bring in the eighth and ninth guy. Hey, hot dog vendor, you're a lefty. Come here, throw a couple ninth inning pitches for us. We give up. I just don't understand his use of the bullpen. And now we go to the 6-man rotation. So they're going to have an extra day off. The starters are all the way around. But for some reason, the Mariners believe that a pitcher can only throw 85 to 95 pitches. Brian Wu, in the game that he gave up the 7 runs yesterday, as we're recording this, he was only at 82 pitches. We're in a bullpen crunch apparently in the first week of June, but yet we can't send him out there to throw to 96 pitches, 97. No, no. We have to stop because that next inning might get him over 95. Well, if you're going with a 6-man rotation, that means you're one arm short in the bullpen. How in the world do you not then give your starter, who is going to have an extra day off and possibly two because of an off day, to get them above that 85 to 95 has to be that only. How come they can't go to 105? I just I don't get it.
It seems to me that Dan Wilson is managing this team to set them up for success in the playoffs. He wants all arms fresh and as possible as they can be moving into October. That's just what I see is why he's kind of babying the bullpen, protecting these arms. He is managing from what he learned in October last year. That's my opinion.
However, you have your closer telling you publicly, a guy who supposedly is like the sweetest guy in the world off the field, telling you publicly, I need to pitch more. I'm not in my rhythm. And you still only send him out there once every 6, 7 days. Um, and that, but okay, if we're managing for October, why are we throwing Bizarro 3 days in a row now? So some guys, we're going to run them out there all the time. Other guys, we're never going to pitch them. And if we're down 2 runs, even though we have an offense built on home runs, we have to put in our mop up guys because we can't come back. We can't hit a bloop and a bomb. No way. We can't tie a game up. Uh,
Yeah, I feel bad for Ferrer. I mean, that guy he's pitching almost it seems every day, no rest. Gutsy outing on that Orioles game this week, pitching 3 out of 4 days and then pitching 43 pitches in an inning. I'm sure he's starting to feel it because he's getting run out there quite a bit while they baby some of the other guys.
well, and to borrow another line from a movie, Major League Two, every time Dan Wilson goes out to the mound, I give the line from Major League Two. Obviously, Wilson's thinking here. I don't know what the hell Wilson's thinking here because it's a move that nobody sees coming or can't explain or what. So, and here's what I think with an analogy for Wilson, kind of like the pilot analogy. Picture Jerry Dipoto giving Dan Wilson a car in Los Angeles and saying, "You need to drive this up to Seattle for me. Just stay on I-5 all the way, except when you get gas. Stay on I-5, go all the way up." Dan Wilson can bring it right up I-5, but then in Southern Oregon, oh no, they're repairing a bridge and there has to be a detour that goes 8 miles out of uh, off of I-5 and you come up on the other side of the bridge. Well, I was told I have to stay on I-5. I guess I better just pull over here and wait until the bridge is built. That's what it seems like we get from our manager. The game in Houston where Bryce Miller was at 82 pitches, I think it was, and the umpire got hurt. Do you remember that game?
Hmm.
Okay, so now we have a 20-minute delay. We know it's going to be Bryce Miller's last inning. We know that. But because he's not 85 to 95, we sit him down for close to 25 minutes and then put him back out there when they could have had an arm ready in the bullpen. Instead, we put him back out there. Oh, okay, he got over 85, got shelled, gave up runs in the process, but we got him to that 85 to 95. What are we doing?
The thing that was driving me crazy early in the year was the pinch hitting
Oh,
guys in the
okay. You
fifth
want to switch
inning.
to offense? I'll switch to offense.
Yeah,
Let's go to
that
offense.
was
Go
driving
ahead.
me absolutely bonkers. The pinch hitting, like in the fifth inning when there's nobody on, and then all of a sudden the matchup's broken in the seventh, eighth, and ninth inning when guys are on. He's gotten a little bit better waiting to the later innings, but early in the season, giving like Ref Snyder two at bats, the pinch hitting for him in the fifth inning was driving me absolutely bonkers.
Yes. So if you look at Ref Snyder's stats, he's not a guy that only hit against left-handers. He did get at bats against right-handers when he got to play. So yes, it drove me crazy. We would be sitting here and yelling at the TV in the fourth or fifth inning because the left-hander went out of the game. They bring in a right-hander to relieve him. Oh, we have to pinch hit. But then guess what? We have three more lefties down here in the pen that we're going to throw at you. And now we've got Rayleigh, Canzone, and anybody else who can hit left-handed up there against guys in the part of the game that the game is on the line, and you said he's gotten a little better at that. He has. I hopefully somebody sat him down and said, not every time do you have to pinch hit when it's in the fourth inning. So we've seen Ref Snyder get some at bats against righties. We've seen Canzone get a few at bats against lefties. Canzone hit lefties at a 275 clip last year. He can hit lefties when given the chance. But oh my gosh, we changed pitchers in the fourth inning. Oh, we have to change our batting order. Oh
Especially
no.
when Luke Rayleigh was on that tear, taking him out of the game in the fifth and the sixth inning. The other manager would be like, "Great, thank you, that was a perfect." And the thing that's driving me about it, like if the pinch hitting was successful, maybe you can lean into it a little bit more. But as of today, the Mariners are hitting 133 when they send up a pinch hitter. Just let Rayleigh face the left-hander. Let Canzone hit the left-hander. Refsnyder gets some work in the right-hander. Because especially what was driving me crazy is early in the year, these guys need some rhythm. Giving Refsnyder two at-bats every third day, he's never going to get into a rhythm. And then when he comes to pinch hit, yeah, he looks lost out there because he's gotten, nine at-bats. So that was driving me crazy at the beginning of the year. Now it seems to get a little bit better, but it's not working. Like hitting 133, just let Rayleigh stay in the game. What if it goes into extras, And now you got the backups in. So that was driving me absolutely bonkers to start the year.
Yeah, and like you said, in the seventh inning, yes, I'd get Rayleigh out of there in a heartbeat if they brought in a lefty. But in the fourth inning, what has Rayleigh shown that he can do better than anybody on the team? He can bunt. So lay down a bunt if you have to. Because really, I will say, I will give Dan, I will bow down and say, yes, really has shown that he can't hit left-handers. But in the fourth inning, sometimes you have to give up an out in order to get a run later in the game because Rayleigh can hit a home run against their right-handed closer.
I'll just throw one caveat on that. Rayleigh is hitting 143 against left-handers this year, and our pinch hitters are hitting 133. So
So you're
if
saying
it's
there's a chance.
if it's early in the game, there's no reason to take him out. Now,
I agree. I agree
if that
1,000%.
if the pinch hitters start having a little more success and it's 243 versus 143, then I'm okay with making that. But it's the fact that it's 143 versus 133, it's going to be the same outcome. So
Yeah,
let's just keep them in the game because, especially with the left-handers, is a lot of teams don't have multiple left-handers in their pen. So even if they bring them in the 6th and 7th to face these guys, they're going to get another at bat in the 8th, 9th potential and extra innings where you want really to have the left on right matchup. Especially if
exactly.
no closers in the game outside of Hader are left-handed. So even in the 9th inning, if you're down, you're probably going to get their closer right-handed against Rayleigh. So I would even say the 7th inning might be too early for me.
Well, yeah, it depends what the other team has the pen, and that's one thing we were screaming at the TV again too. Is I don't understand who is not telling Dan Wilson that they have three more righties in the bullpen, but no more lefties. I don't know where Manny Acta is on that because it just seemed like got to switch, got to switch. Oh my gosh, well, the world is ending here. So yeah, the pinch hitting it drove me crazy and on the offense. So yeah, that's it's hopefully going to get better. But as an athlete, if you don't get into any sort of rhythm, you are completely off. And then what goes off right away after that? Your brain. And if your brain is off on the field, on the ice, on the court, you are screwed. And
That was my next point is the mental aspect is not even we're not even considering is I'm I'd love to get a hitter's perspective that's played at a high level. Getting pulled after two at bats in the 5th inning has to be one of the most frustrating things in the world.
knowing you might not get another one for 4 more days.
You
So it's terrible. You have to in baseball, you have to get uh into some sort of rhythm. It drove us crazy. If you remember when Jason Bay was on the team, Jason Bay hit 2 home runs and Lloyd McClendon didn't have him in the lineup the next day because he was only a part-time player. So sometimes these managers like outthink themselves or they get into the analytics too much and you put yourself at a position where everybody's looking at you and like, what are you doing? And pretty soon the players are going to start looking at you like that.
Yeah, the only thing I could relate is, if your line's not going, sometimes you just get skipped, or maybe you're just it's not your night, and you take a couple shifts off from the coach, and then when it is your number called, it's hard to get back into that rhythm if you sat for a couple minutes, legs get a little tired, you feel a little bit out of routine, but there's always still a chance you can go back in the game. Obviously, you get pulled in the fifth, hey, you're hitting the showers, you're done. So I do wonder, do you think that Jerry in the front office pulling the strings a little bit on
I
the
think
analytical side?
I think it goes back to my comment about driving the car from LA to Seattle. I think my read on it is they gave Dan the outline of what they built the team to do. And he took that so literally that he was not able to get off and follow the detour around the bridge and get back on I-5. That's my read on the situation. I would not surprise me if they had to sit him down and say, this is the concept of the team, but in game, you do have to look to see what's coming up ahead of you and not have that look like the pilot would have, to be scared, like I was talking about. You have to look. So general guidelines versus letter of the law.
Dan Wilson reminds me of the early days of AI. That it operates if they put in lefty, I sub in righty, and no other
Exactly.
factors are unconsidered. Now he's evolving a little bit, right? Now that the AI is getting a little better and saying, well, maybe in the 5th inning, that formula, that logic that we were programmed into us doesn't always need to come to fruition. But that's how he kind of reminded me of is just like if this, I do that, and then there's no other. Well, it's only the 5th inning, early in the season, guys need to get into rhythm. But yeah, that was driving me bonkers to start the year.
Well, and now, okay, so we talked about the offense, we talked about the pitching. Now I want to talk about the defense. What is his fascination with bringing the infield in? Is he lonely? He wants them in closer. We bring the infield in the third inning. Why are we bring? You keep it, especially with our team built on home runs. We can come back quickly. But no, in the third inning, with no outs, one out, we're bringing the infield in with guys on second and third. I will give up a run in the third inning to get an out, but that is now foreign to the Mariners. We bring the infield in, and right last night, a ball that was hit that would have been a double play and gotten us out of the inning instead goes and they put up a cricket number and they score like 6, 7 runs in the inning, whatever it was. Um, I don't understand. Always taught to stay away from a big inning. And we play the infield in with guys on second and third and just hand them a big inning. It just it drives me bonkers. I don't understand why we're playing the infield in the third inning.
I'm just cracking up how many times we've said bonkers today. I don't know if there's a better word for it, but yeah, that's funny. So 1 to 10 scale, I guess 2 different scales. Rate your confidence level in Dan Wilson and then a summary of his performance.
Well, my confidence level, to be honest with you, is well. Okay, let me also go back before the piggyback. What seemed like his strength was having his players back and being pretty open with them and them liking him in the clubhouse. So you thought he had great communication skills and whatnot. So before the piggyback, I would have graded his off the field much higher. Now the piggyback hits, and I start to think, oh, maybe this is more JP Crawford keeping the team together than it was Dan Wilson, per se, in the clubhouse, because we have seen in some of the trade deadline moves that Jerry has made, he doesn't give an iota about team chemistry. He believes that team chemistry comes from winning and it will be fine, as we saw the Graveman team blow up the clubhouse. And the one guy that you can really thank for the Mariners having this work hard, cohesive clubhouse is JP Crawford. He has been the glue that has held this team together. So if I give Dan the benefit of the doubt that he is on a great off the field situation with his players, I would grade my confidence level at him as a C because he's shown a little bit.
That's not on the 1 to 10 scale.
Oh, sorry. On the 1 to 10 scale, I will, let's go. So think of the old grading scale. 80. So I would give him like a 5. Let's just go with a 5 on a confidence scale. Only because the players have that communication. Now, if it wasn't so much Dan as it was JP Crawford, I have a confidence level of 2. I don't see him learning enough with the bullpen. I don't see him learning enough with pinch hitters. I see the look of panic on his face when the game is moving quickly in the late innings. But when a coach has confidence in you, it can raise your performance. So if it's him that those communication skills and the confidence, then I will up it a little bit. And now, what was the second part of your? I'm so getting myself on a roll here about him that I have to go back and ask for repeat the question.
His performance.
Oh, his
So,
performance. Can I just give it a letter grade like in school? I give it a
yeah.
D. I give it a D.
Okay.
A D. Now, can I also say that on his post game interviews, I give him 7 Fs. He is the worst interview. I would rather go out and talk to the flagpole in center field than I would to talk to Dan Wilson. He tells you nothing. He commends every loss, commends the players for their fight. Well, this is the major leagues. We don't have moral victories. We don't have to commend professional players that they hung around to the 9th inning and continued to try to hit the ball. We aren't in moral. This is not T-ball. We don't have to give moral victories participation trophies. This is the major leagues. So not every interview with that. Then on top of that, you can tell when he has like no confidence in what he's saying. Count the many times you hear, because he'll say, Castillo threw the ball, really well. It's just a couple, innings that really got away from me, and the batters, they just kind of jumped, on on the fast. That's when he has no idea or doesn't know what to say, and he just throws a bunch of knows. So listen for that. I mean, oh my gosh, there are times that you can call out your offense in the media without it looking like you're calling them out. You could just state a fact. When the Mariners in the first piggyback lose the game, not because the piggyback didn't work, but because the offense had two or one. I can't remember, one or two hits.
I think they lost. Yeah, they
Yeah,
lost
like
2-1 with one hit. Right?
one hit. We were one hit. It is not hard for him to say in a post game interview, yeah, you're not going to win very many major league games when you get one hit on the day. We have to be able to hit the ball better. That's not throwing a player under the bus. That's not throwing your team under the bus. But instead, he commended them for fighting that day. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. Yeah, seriously, go talk to the flagpole because it has a better interview. These poor reporters that have to do post game press conferences with them, I wouldn't even show up because you know what he's not going to say.
So obviously you're pretty fired up. So is there a course of action needed to be taken, in your opinion, or are you okay with riding the season out with Dan Wilson at the helm?
That's a complicated question. And the reason it's complicated is because of the effect, the power, I don't know what you want to call it, that the front office has on the field manager. So, do Jerry and Justin want to hire somebody that is going to push back like a Lou Piniella or Lloyd McClendon against them saying, "Oh, we're going to pinch hit this guy and this guy, and this guy of our general rules," or are they building a team that said, "This is, hey, our team's built on power and speed, and here you go." So I think Dan Wilson has to show that he can adapt much better. I think he has to make some uh, clear, better choices. And if not, if I were sitting down with him at the evaluating his performance based on me, I would say you need to show some significant improvement in the second half here. Now, I listened to an interview with Ryan Healy. Ryan Healy thinks there's nothing wrong with the way Dan Wilson is handling the pen. Think there's nothing wrong with what he's doing. So
But
that
he
could
works for
be
the
I could be
Mariners,
off.
so
That is the caveat
that's
with that. That is tough. Exactly.
tough to call out the
So
manager as you work for the organization.
exactly. So, but is he echoing what the players feel? If the players feel like he's not doing anything wrong, or if the players have confidence in him, that's a big thing. So it's tough to say without anytime that people say you should fire a coach or fire a manager without really being behind the scenes, you can't really say because you don't know what those relationships are like. You can only judge it on are you getting the best out of this talent? And you can say that right now, we're not. He's not getting the best out of the talent that's on this club. There's no question about that. But there's so many more things that go into it. So I guess that you'd have to take an incomplete on that one if you were in school.
It really just depends, and we'll never be able to tell fully. Has he lost the locker room with Munoz speaking out, Miller speaking out? Um, obviously there's maybe some risk on JB Crawford. That's not really his fault with just Emerson getting called up and being the shortstop of the future. Does JP lose a little bit of his, leadership intentionality with him potentially being a free agent and getting replaced? If that starts to slip, can Dan Wilson hold that all together? That's what all the things that I'm going behind the scenes. Doesn't seem like we're there yet, but I think that's when you potentially need to make a John Tortorella change and bring him in for the playoff run.
Well, and I think Dan is if you just gave him this team and said, "Here's a best of 3 series, go win it." Oh, let's go best of 5 because there aren't any best of 3s in well, there are now with the wild card. So let me take that back. In a short series, we'll just go short series and say, "Here's your team. If all those things are okay, I think he can manage you through that." My opinion from the outside is that when he has to start thinking about at bats for this guy versus at bats for this guy, resting this guy, this arm being ready in the bullpen versus not, long term on this guy. This starter should not go over this many pitches. I've got uh, this guy that may come up from Tacoma, this guy that has to go down. I think when he's trying to juggle all those balls, I don't think he's yet equipped to do that at a major league level. And that goes from never managing before. So there is a huge learning curve to managing a ball club through the regular season versus the playoffs. So the regular season, like I said, oh my gosh, I can't pitch this guy. I can pitch. But when he has to do a short season, a short series, if those other things that you just brought up are okay, he should be fine. I think the hard part for him is, the juggling of all those balls during the regular season because he's never done it. And in fairness to him, it's very tough to learn on the job at the major league level. So
Mhm.
it's a tough position to be in. I will grant him that, and that's why I do hope that if we do have a next manager in the near future, that it's somebody that has done it even in the minor leagues enough so that they know how to handle all those things.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Him being a former catcher can manage the game, but all the variables and the factors that you just mentioned of guys getting the right amount of playing time at bats, innings, is a whole new dynamic that he's never had to experience before. And trying to learn at the major league level, I'm sure it's a tall task. So, well, there you have it. It's going to be pretty easy for AI to write this summary for us. I think it's just Costco and Dan Wilson and driving us bonkers in both the retail store and the bullpen management. So there's the summary. If you missed the episode, Eric, always appreciate the time, and I'm excited. We didn't really get into the World Cup. Here's what I know about the USA soccer team is they're rolling with three center backs, which is a little bit unusual. So defense and goalie might be a little bit of a liability, but I've heard the mid backs and the forwards are pretty good. So hopefully a little bit more exciting for me if the American team wins some 4-3 games. Sounds like that's the forwards will have to do their job as the defense is not as strong. So that's my 30-second take on the World Cup.
And yeah, I have nothing I can add because that's way more of an analysis than I know about our US team. Uh, all I know is if you look at the coach and he looks like he's panicked, get off the plane.
All right, thanks everyone tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.